Exit I is the last intersection. The only problem is the cops are behind us, and there needs to be some set of decision making about the strategy.
The other groups that we're working with, i.e. the YCL and the Raging Grandmas, have already deployed. So everybody's there without our support. So I'm marching this way, and I strongly encourage other people to continue to support people.
Like, can everyone agree to all go? Because if we're just going to split it up right now, that's a big, like, we're not all going.
Corporate robbery.
What do you guys think about the human barricade across the street right here?
Wait, which side? Which side?
That side. What do you think?
This demonstration it's so much about so many different issues, and so many people have been able to rally around it that, I mean, I think that's in a lot of ways why it's incredible, and that's why hopefully it'll be effective.
For this day, at this time, this intersection is ours.
I'm here to demonstrate against the IMF and the World Bank for the injustices they've done to people all over the world and for the injustices they've done here in the U.S.
I am protesting against the IMF. It is not right. It is unchristian.
We're not about property destruction. We're not about hurting people or violence and stuff. We're just about a nonviolent resistance to the corporate aggression that they're trying to push on us.
In a large meeting yesterday at the Convergence Spot, we coordinated with, representatives from thousands of other groups as to what strategically would be our position. And we came and we took control of this. And
she just talked to the police and communicated that this is a nonviolent protest. They've said they're not going to do anything to us anytime soon, and they understand that this is a nonviolent protest.
Good.
The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund were set up shortly after the Second World War. And the idea was to initially solve the problems of reconstructing Europe after the war. And eventually the idea was broadened to have them provide help for countries in the Third World to develop and become industrialized and to get rid of poverty.
World Bank is a development agency. It was supposed to be that. The World Bank was supposed to provide loans to developing countries who were just getting their independence from their colonizers. They were supposed to provide those loans to assist those countries in their development projects. International Monetary Fund was set up not as a development agency. Its job was to establish monetary financial stability.
Once the economies were rebuilt in Europe and in Japan, then it looked to this poverty alleviation mission. Well, bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. It's a false policy. It's not really what their mission is about. Their mission is about economic development for the betterment of those who are bettered by economic development.
Back in '82, I was asked to do consultancy as a member of a team. When I went over and saw at that time in '82 how they could take hundreds of millions of dollars and basically throw it down a rat hole in terms of helping poor people, the only beneficiaries that I saw of that project were American and multinational firms.
It is a for-profit bank, and it's been very successful in making profits. It makes $1 billion plus a year in profits.
We have to look at what some of us are calling the unholy trinity of World Bank, IMF, as well as the World Trade Organization.
WTO, opens the barriers for trade. The World Bank provides the finance for these development projects. And then as a result of the fact that everybody's competing against each other, the prices drop, and the IMF steps in to provide short-term finance. And the only way they do that is by cutting the money that people spend, governments spend on health services, education, and nutrition and that kind of thing.
And the IMF and World Bank is busy recommending the privatization of water, the privatization of electricity, and running local government basic services along profit lines, along commercial lines. And this has led to job losses and an increase in the price of these basic services.
The IMF and the World Bank are undemocratic. They're not allowing also the people from Central America or Latin America or third world countries to democratically make decisions. And they pretty much impose these structural adjustment programs that pretty much abolish social benefits.
Always the IMF World Bank, when it gives out a loan, there's always on the other hand what you call structural adjustment programs. And part of that is you have to cut down on health services, on social services in general. So concretely, like for health services, we only have 2% of the national budget for that, vis-a-vis paying the debt, which is like 30 to 50% of the budget. So there goes the budget. Concretely, that means that for every Filipino, there's only a 1 cent per day budget. So wow, what can you buy with 1 cent?
The World Bank makes more money than it pays out. Therefore, for all the money it puts out, it gets more money back into its coffers. There's also net outflow of resources such as timber, gold, oil, copper, but also agricultural products which come at the expense of depleting the soils and the environment of local countries.
Because of the World Bank policies, because of this IMF structural adjustment programs, as the currencies are devalued, there is no market for American products. It is going to hit America. Secondly, because the wages are being driven down in other countries, the jobs are moving overseas.
Because of their policies, the policies which had not helped my people, policies which have destroyed forests, policies which encourages the construction of dams, the canalization of rivers, policies which encourage the impoverishment of our people, which has led to the wiping out of the middle class, policies which is creating social injustice on a mass scale. It is those policies that have encouraged anti-democracy to emerge. It is those policies that we have come to protest peacefully, non-violently, so that the world can be a better place for us all.
Here we have the lowest incomes. Here we have the highest infant mortality rate in the United States, right here in Washington, D.C. And that is in part, indirectly at least, a consequence of the efforts of the IMF, the efforts of the World Bank. They do no good. They're useless. They're harmful.
My name is David. I live on the street in D.C. I'm homeless in D.C.
What's it like to live in D.C., one of the cradle of democracy in the United States?
It sucks. It sucks because there's no resources. They tell us that there are resources, but there are no real resources.
It's hard to get a job in Washington?
Sure it is. You can't get nothing in Washington.
There's nothing there for a homeless person. There's nothing there for poor people here in D.C. It's all a fallacy. It's all a fake out. You know, all these beautiful buildings are not for poor people. It's for the rich, and the rich keep getting richer, and the poor keep getting poor.
Do they give you a place to sleep?
Yeah, on the street.
You know, and that's where we are. That's what it's like in D.C. Sleeping on the street, waking up hungry, no place to bathe. You know, that's it.
African Americans specifically need to really recognize how this is affecting us. I know people in this community maybe feel intruded upon and feel like, why are they impeding upon our community? Why are they coming into the place where we live and disrupting things and causing this huge police force? This is just a preface to what's really going to go down if we allow the IMF to persist and to continue doing what they're doing.
What's the Contract on America about? What is welfare reform about? You know, that's our own form of structural adjustment that we need to be fighting against here in this country.
We're talking about all the stuff that they're doing in other countries, but this country is messing up first. If we don't fix this country, then we don't get nothing fixed. You know, we can come down here and march all day long, but if we don't talk about the atrocities of this country and what this country is doing, since this country is a trendsetter, then we got problems.
You know, we have to look bigger. We have to look more than just to the drug dealer on the community. We need to look higher than just the police officers on our street. What is motivating them? There's an agenda here, you know? And we as people of color, we need to recognize, we need to stop, we need to look past our own nose and recognize that we are not an island in these cities and these communities in the United States. These type of things are affecting people all across the world. We're having like SAPs enacted upon our communities in the United States, our minority communities. It's unbelievable what they're doing to our people, and we need to recognize that. We need to recognize that and combat it.
Lock up! We do not consent to a search.
Indicate the presence.
Well, we don't trust you guys because you have been harassing us for days and days.
This morning, the Mobilization for Global Justice warehouse location where we've been building giant and beautiful puppet images of both our future that we'd like to have and the repression of the World Bank and the IMF. Our mobilization space has been raided.
We had actually been getting, from what I understand from our inspectors, citizens' complaints about the activity in the building all week long.
We, the immediate neighborhood that they're in, is not complaining, have no problems, so where is all the confusion coming from? I'm not getting it. And not getting any answers either.
Why did they wait until we have several thousand people arriving in town the day before the event when we've been going for a week?
Let's go. No search warrant. Let's go. Everybody out there, let's go, sir.
The police just enters without a search warrant, locks up a place with all the possessions, a handful of possessions the young people have traveled with across this country. None of them have loads of money to go and feed themselves. The food is the community kitchen, and they are being denied the access to feeding themselves.
This is one of the controversial peppers that was brought out from the kitchen area. The police raided the Convergence space earlier today, claiming that we possessed chemicals that could possibly make pepper spray with. And to be quite truthfully honest, this looks like a harmless pepper to me.
Many of them have their clothes left inside. They're standing here in the rain and the cold and the wet. And medicine, there was a woman crying in the other community hall because she needs the medicine that's locked up here. And they release a few puppets to make a little play of this.
Somebody's very scared of our big puppets, and they should be, because our big puppets spread the message of coming together, of peace, of joy, of solidarity, of how you can come together in a protest and have it be a beautiful thing. And they should be scared of our puppets.
Treat AIDS worldwide!
We're in front of the IMF, a good distance from it, blocked from it, and AIDS activists are here today locking down to a giant image of the glutton IMF. And in Latin America and in sub-Saharan Africa, two regions of the globe where the IMF structural adjustment programs and crippling debt burden are actually killing people with HIV. We are calling on the Clinton administration, on the U.S. government, to use its voice as the largest stakeholder to the IMF to call for unconditional debt burden to save the lives of people in poverty living with HIV who are being killed by the policies of the IMF.
As an addict, a recovering addict and alcoholic myself, I'm also HIV positive. When I came to Philadelphia, I was 144 pounds and I had lost the will to live. So I went through like a spiritual experience that allowed me to be okay. When I came through that experience, then there was ACT UP. So I've only been doing one thing since 1997. I've been learning the tactics of activism, of civil disobedience, of getting involved, and taking that back to the community that I come from.
We'll go around and we go to all the recovery houses. We do teaching presentations to let them know what is going on with the IMF.
I'm just here for my brothers and sisters in Africa and all over the world.
And we're having a lot of
fun today.
First of all, right, we don't want the fun to overshadow the importance of this event. Millions of people around the world are dying for pennies, because of pennies. And I don't think that should happen. I myself suffer from AIDS. I'm fortunate to have contracted AIDS here in America, where I have access to the medications. But what about the people that don't?
I would like for everyone to look around you and imagine that 1 in every 5 of you are HIV positive. Now imagine that you have no access to treatment. Then you will die.
Of all different types, International Action Center organized large people here stuck between police lines. That's our situation.
It is very worrisome because what happened on Saturday was an example of how a police state, functions and reacts. And we're talking about organized police terror.
To all you merchants of lies, who advertise peace while you bomb from the skies, your words, they mean nothing.
Well, the International Action Center called a rally and march in front of the Department of Justice several weeks back to protest the prison industrial complex, to show our solidarity with all of the other actions that were taking place in D.C., targeting the role of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. We didn't apply for a march permit because you don't have to apply for a march permit if you're going to be walking on the sidewalk.
We asked them to please get up on the sidewalk, and they refused, tried to take the street, and we took action.
I turned around and saw the police fan out behind us and then trap and blockade us on both ends.
We knew right then and there that the negotiations were over, that they had planned this all along, and it probably came from the top, including the mayor.
Well, I think it was certainly legal, it's certainly proper, and it certainly was preventative and proactive.
But the strategy was to get less, to decrease us on the streets by far, and to get rid of some of the strong leadership that was at that protest.
We got corralled up like animals. They didn't tell us that they were going to arrest us. They gave us no option to leave.
We sat there, we stood there, we didn't move, we didn't make no trouble. But they still went on and arrested everybody. 600 people got arrested.
Jessica, why were you here? Jessica, why are you here?
We're trying to cover the event. It's a free media. What media?
I think whenever you're dealing in a situation like this, you're going to be up on the boundary line in terms of constitutional rights.
They didn't tell us nothing. They didn't charge us with anything. They just told us $50 to get out. That was it.
We just felt it was just extortion. Besides the sensory deprivation and the torture and the dehumanization process.
And everyone's sitting there with their wrists tied to their ankles. If you want to move around and to make a phone call, you have to hop across the room on one leg. It was the most humiliating, dehumanizing experience I've ever had in my entire life.
We found out that they were telling people, giving them legal advice, in fact, and saying that if they did not post and forfeit, that they would be held there until Monday or Tuesday. They said that they had tents out back and that people were going to sleep in the rain and that sort of thing, and it just wasn't true.
There's no injury to anyone. Everyone's been treated in a very respectful manner.
They put you in these plastic handcuffs. I mean, the pain is just excruciating. It really is. In fact, the majority of people were put on school buses all night long, anywhere between 6 hours to 12 hours.
I've been handcuffed since 6 o'clock at night till I got uncuffed at 7 o'clock this morning.
The 678 people who were arrested were political prisoners. Yes, absolutely, because those arrests were based on our political beliefs.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good day, man.
just shut down the IMF and the World Bank. We want to shut down government in general, full stop. We believe that capitalism can't be reformed. We're out here today to show support for people that are locked down, to help them out, to support them in the streets. We're staying mobile so the police can't clamp down on us, and that's about it.
I think people see a bunch of, people dressed in black with their faces covered, and that's a scary image for them, But if you took like 2 minutes to talk to any one of those people, you would realize that they are intelligent. They, they care about what's going on, or they wouldn't put themselves on the line.
Oh no, I'm okay. Careful. Pray on. So beautiful.
Police tried to be very divisive and say that there were certain fringe militant group that didn't represent everyone's interests. Right now, Mobilization Global Justice, all the people that are down in Washington have consensus to make a lot of space for different tactics and different politics. I know we can all work together, and the coalitions that we form are going to change this world.
I think there's a lot of people that see the Black Bloc as their safety net in a lot of ways. Like, I definitely saw it at the protest. I saw some negative reactions, but I also saw some people being like, oh, they're here. Now we know what to do. Now we know how to set up our barricade, because these are the kids that aren't afraid, to actually drag dumpsters into the street and make those a part of the human barricade that actually aid and stuff. They're not afraid to, move cars out into the street. They're not afraid to stand there and push at the police line.
So many of them feeding us. They have people trapped over there, held down.
They're environmentalists. They're people that are concerned about the third world debt. They aren't part of corporate America, that's all. I'm certainly much older than you guys are. But, man, this is really something.
And we can see by the police repression in the city today that it's coming closer to home. So to resist the IMF and the World Bank is not just liberating the third world, not just to fight for human rights and the environment elsewhere. It's making this country safer for its citizens.
But it's exciting, you know. I mean, we're actively stopping people from getting in here and forcing not only the media, but, you know, the delegates who are actually having to deal with us to read our signs and deal with what we're saying.
I'm really energized by seeing so many young people come out and be committed to a cause, whatever it might be. And it very much shares the cause that we in organized labor are committed to.
I think that people are waking up to the idea that their democracy, so-called democracy, has been taken over by institutions like the IMF.
We're going to have a spokes council meeting in a couple of minutes, which is that each affinity group has one spokesperson. We're all going to get together. Some people want to stay. Other people really want to go to the legal protest. I think that'll also be really powerful. And then some other people at Third Proposal are considering sort of doing something independently.
I'm a little concerned about press, and I think it's wrong that they're trying to go through our barricades. I've been clobbered twice already by the press, and I don't want anyone to get hurt.
Anybody want to let people on a case-by-case basis? No. You have to.
Who are we to decide case-by-case basis? We make a consensus, either yes or either no.
It's yes or it's no.
It's inconvenient, but it's nonviolent.
It's been very democratic. I mean, sometimes even painfully so, because we're really working it out, and we basically came to a consensus that the way to hold the blockade was to hold it completely, and it'd be too easy for delegates to come in with press passes.
It's not my decision, it's a collective decision.
That's ridiculous, really. No.
Financial Times? Financial Times? No, thank you. That's Financial Times. They're not on our side.
Everybody move, please don't leave me
because of the IMF meetings and the protests around them, but the mayor says he believes the city's well prepared for the weekend. The mayor says he believes the city's
We got a taste of what we might expect to see from demonstrators this weekend. Today, police displayed simple but highly effective devices intended for use by the protesters. They were highly confiscated by D.C. police for use by a tip from their intelligence branch. Confiscated by D.C. police based on a tip from their intelligence branch last night.
With Channel 7, we're the ABC affiliate here. I think that content is driven by sponsorship.
Would you explain that for the people who don't know how it works?
I think that you won't find very much labor news in the news. And that's because it doesn't serve the interests of the people who pay for the news shows.
As the bankers meet, the dramatic drop in the U.S. stock market is the hot topic on the agenda.
For the most part, what they've been doing is, just portraying this as just a bunch of kids that just, are looking for fun on the weekend, not really thinking about the political circumstances about what are going on or anything like that. I mean, for the most part, all that they've been doing is just portraying the protesters and the protests, but they haven't had anything about structural adjustment policies, anything about non-governmental organizations, that are corporate-based, that are doing all this stuff that we're fighting against. This is News 2 Weekend.
Our top story tonight, an army of police officers tries to control angry protesters at the World Bank meeting in Washington.
The only thing I see in the media is, rioting kids, ignorant rioting kids. And from a racial standpoint, that's the same thing you see with black kids, ignorant rioting black kids.
One brazen protester tries to stop them. Driving this passion, some say craziness.
When asked about it, Police Chief Charles H. Ramsey said, witnesses may have been fooled by demonstrators dressed as police and wielding batons.
I love that.
What? God. Are you just hanging out, or are you trying to make a statement? Some people would say that you're antagonizing the police.
How am I antagonizing them?
By sitting right in front of them like that. Protesters tried to break down barricades and threw things at officers.
I think the media has been unfair. I think it's been patronizing and uneducated and making it seem as if, there's no reason why all these people should be here together, as if the fragmentation is in some way a sign of weakness. And in fact, they're incredibly well informed and know what they're doing and are very well organized. But they start off calling them rioters. Then go downhill from there.
One arrest today at the World Bank. Police say a demonstrator began repeatedly hitting a police car. He was arrested, they say, and charged with aggravated beating of a car.
A nightmare. I mean, the Beltway was backed up in every which direction for hours.
Yes.
It was terrible.
I wish people would try and stay more objective, but, it's not going to happen. It's the media, for Christ's sake.
Gain control of the crowd. News 2 reporter Lisa Hughes has the latest on this chaotic and violent day in the Capitol.
Broken glass is always a more exciting video than people sitting talking about beyond Seattle. And that's the true nature of the media business.
The World Bank was very much involved with the Suharto regime in Indonesia. Its resources, which now everybody acknowledges that there was a great deal of corruption involved with World Bank resources in Indonesia, it helped prop up Mr. Suharto. The World Bank was one of the chief backers of Mr. Marcos in terms of providing him with resources in the Philippines. The World Bank in South Korea, in the years of the dictatorship, provided tremendous resources that were very much involved in keeping the military dictatorship in that country going.
Globalization is doing two things. It's promoting war, and it's providing the means to wage war. So on the first hand, you have the IMF, the World Bank, the WTO, which are the main vehicles for globalization, restrain governments, promote unfair trade, drive down human rights, and really destroy the fabric of what is required for healthy communities, particularly in the developing world. I mean, it has that effect here as well, too, but really has the effect in the developing world.
They were lending projects that were structured within an authoritarian, technocratic sort of context that resulted in disempowering local communities and empowering authoritarian governments. And this was the sort of record that the bank has had. And you cannot just reverse that with just a few words like we're now for anti-poverty. Because the essence of these programs, the essence of structural adjustment, liberalization, deregulation, privatization of a doctrinaire sort, remains the same. It is just the rhetoric which has changed.
There's 36 wars going on in the world right now, and all of those wars are civil wars, and it largely a result of those states breaking down, falling apart. In many of these wars, there's been a history of IMF intervention that you can find. If you go back and look through the history, you can find those connections. When you have a breakdown of what we call human security, you know, when people don't have clean water, when they don't have proper education, when they're denied basic human rights, and then the state begins to even break down itself in some of these cases, what you have are the conditions for war. This is an actual ad from Boeing. This is an Apache helicopter. It's one of those black helicopters. These are Hellfire missiles on them. Anyway, this helicopter cost $18 million to build. And if you look at this caption, this is in an actual magazine that's distributed to governments and militaries. It says, "It keeps the peace in a dominating, intimidating sort of way." This is the face of the new global economy. This is the power that enforces the inequality that globalization produces. This technology can only be made by a handful of countries, industrialized countries that spend billions and billions of dollars on military spending, in this case, the United States.
These corporations are moving all their capital through IMF and World Bank to third world countries and then exploiting the workforce there.
Most of the human chain to the east is broken off. There's police moving in.
They said to us, whatever you do, don't come near this barricade. And I said, have you been told to come at us if we approach the barricade any closer? And they said yes. We need to determine whether it's worth it to stay here or move on.
People in lockdown have expressed a want to move on.
The black class. And we made a collective decision, and
they weren't even they just came marching down the street and like from this way and
boom,
came in.
And right in. All right. We're getting ready to head to the ellipse.
Good afternoon. We've just been told that because of the demonstrations in the streets today, the IMF was unable to start their meeting.
We do have a democracy when it comes to electoral politics. You have one vote, I have one vote, all right? When it comes to our economy, you and I are we're cut out. We're not part of that. We do not have economic democracy in this country.
We are united in our goal to oppose the boundless greed of the global economy that puts profits before people at all costs.
What happened last night in the arrest of the students and the activists is shameful for this nation.
You can't fight these corporations, and you can't fight the governments or the multinationals or international financiers by yourself. You can't do that. They're too powerful and too big. It takes groups like this. It takes everybody coming together, and even then, it's a hell of a battle.
This protest is very important because capitalism is destroying the country little by little.
Well, it was an incredible display of unity that capped off an incredible week of organizing. I think it's been a huge success.
Different organizations, church groups, labor, and we all came together with one common focus, and that's a very good feeling. And this is the first time in my life I've ever felt anything like that. I know I'm still young, but I think it's really something good to have early on. So you know it's possible and there is hope.
Green Revolution, which is really the introduction of chemical agriculture under forced circumstances to countries like India, was 100% financed by the World Bank.
The kind of folks who were behind it at the beginning were the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation in the 50s, who were concerned that if the issue of hunger in the Third World wasn't addressed, then poor people in those countries would be ripe for communist subversion.
In the 1960s, the World Bank was very happy to provide the Indian government loans for setting up chemical industries that would produce fertilizers and pesticides for the use within the country. And of course, the amount was not enough. So they also helped us with loans to be able to bring in, international companies such as Union Carbide.
Union Carbide, we accuse you of genocide.
So what they did was they took the advances in U.S. agronomy and crop breeding, which were basically breeding new varieties of crops that were more responsive to chemicals, chemical fertilizer and chemical pesticide and controlled irrigation water, and bring those to the Third World.
No farmer could take credit of any kind if he didn't buy the new seeds and the new chemicals. And internationally, India's foreign exchange borrowings went up 3 times just in 1 year of the Green Revolution.
Once the farmers were used to it, the subsidies were taken away because the World Bank and IMF were telling the Indian government that, you have too many loans, you have a big debt, and we need to get rid of that debt.
There were dramatic increases in yields as a result of the Green Revolution, mostly in the United States. In indigenous countries like Mexico, India, and elsewhere, farmers initially had success, but ultimately discovered with the over-reliance on pesticides and fertilizers that they were contaminating water aquifers, that they were having fertilizer runoff that was creating havoc with neighboring estuaries and fields, and that they ultimately couldn't afford to maintain the irrigation levels and the scale of production, which was dependent so much on a chemical infrastructure.
On one hand, you can say you have this fantastic pesticide or whatever that will take care of your rice. But in the case of India, which used to have 50,000 varieties of rice, every farmer or every farming community would plant at least 20-30 varieties of rice, some of which would have more resistance to drought, some of which would be more resistant to certain pests. So even if you had pest infection or even if you had a drought, you would still have a crop. But the fact that we have moved away into this single-mindedness monocultures, we have actually made ourselves more open to destruction and susceptible to droughts and pests and things like that.
Human suffering must be alleviated. God knows we have enough resources to feed everybody twice and then some. Then why is there poverty?
If we have hunger today in larger quantities, it is because the systems of agricultural production that pretend to grow more food actually rob more food, both from nature and other species, as well as from poorer people. If 800 million people are hungry today, every one of those 800 million people 10, 20, 30 years ago used to grow their food and feed themselves. World hunger is created by destroying people's capacity to feed themselves, which includes both a destruction of small farming systems as well as a destruction of people's entitlements. And that's in the rich countries and that's in the poor countries.
Across about a block and a half from here at the Safeway, I'm able to get Costa Rican bananas for 69 cents a pound. I grew up on a farm. I know what it takes to raise crops like bananas. And I'm very, very much aware that that pound of bananas costing me 69 cents means that somebody has been massively exploited.
So it brings us back to this whole export economy that developing nations have been told to move on. We've been told we do not have to worry about growing our own food because this technology which is present in countries such as the United States, they can grow food for us. And yet what we find is that we are starving our own people because now we are either growing bananas or we're growing coffee or we're growing tulips for export. So that whole self-reliance that we had, that the farmers grew to feed their own communities, that principle has been thrown out of the window for the sake of the dollar economy or the export economy.
Most people don't do politics because politics is negativity, and if you can make it fun, you can social movements build when the politics get into the theater and the theater gets into the politics.
We are making a visual metaphor that the IMF is the loan sharks of the world. There's something so uplifting about doing a kick line while we're being watched by snipers in a helicopter.
I think art can do work in a way that yelling and screaming can't. I mean, thoughts are one thing, but if you feel that something is right, that's when people really move.
More style, and for God's sakes, we have a marching band. Do the feds have a marching band? I don't believe the police have a marching band.
I think music adds a really important element to what goes on here. It brings everyone together, and it pacifies some situation that could otherwise get really ugly and dangerous.
You can't get upset with the puppets. They're so non-threatening, they're so benign. So it shows that we're out here not to be hostile and not to be an adversary.
Art keeps people alive, keeps people thinking.
It's a festive atmosphere. Like I said, it's a festival of resistance. And we're going to demonstrate that not only do we have the power, but we can also have fun.
Photographs and a film of your involvement in this, so that the face that is shown is the face of white middle America as opposed to it being an international face.
Just for once, put the camera on people of color who are actually, speaking their voice and not looting, some store and running away.
A lot of times we don't pay attention to our youth. What happens is a lot of kids just go off of the media, off of MTV, off of BET to kind of know what's going on, what to do, how to act, what to think, And a lot of times it's just giving back and looking at the younger generation and paying attention to them, because they are leaders of tomorrow. But what's happening is we're neglecting them.
I mean, people in this country are so privileged, and I think now more than ever, kids are starting to realize what they have compared to the rest of the world. My father's from the Philippines. I have a lot of family in San Pablo, and a lot of my relatives work in the sweatshop factories like that Nike and other corporations have their base there. So, I mean, they have to work really hard and to earn a living, and some girls are being employed for like 14 cents a day.
My life is political, given who I am. Step foot in the United States as, being Sudanese, being Muslim, being black. But the way I see my activism is really just representing people who can't do what I'm doing right now. It's my responsibility to do that.
I think it's kind of sad that there's not more youth of color. I think that we need to represent more for ourselves, because you come out here and there's a lot of white folks, and that's cool, but we need to really represent, because we're the communities being most affected by globalization, both in our homelands and here in our communities in the U.S.
Like if you go to the dance stuff, why don't we have people of color here? And their answer is, we just didn't recruit more. Like, what, you're going to bring 6 people of color in, that we walk in and be like, oh, shit, you know what I mean? That's their idea of how to, deal with issues of democracy within the organization, or people of color taking part. And a movement that really is their movement, right? How do you hold people accountable that they never evaluate themselves? I mean, there's no evaluation. We're the only ones that are going to evaluate this, right? After Seattle, who really evaluated?
We can't wait for them to wake up, or it comes to realization that maybe we're excluding some people. Like, we have to let them know that we are feeling alienated, and we don't want to feel. We want to feel like we're all part of this movement.
Solidarity is very important, but solidarity is nothing when you do not know what your role is as an individual and as a community.
This is our political moment, and we're telling the world that we know what they're doing, what they're meeting about, what kinds of decisions they're making that are affecting our people, and that we're just not going to take it anymore.
Right now, everyone is lined up outside of the World Bank Center
and we are trying to block delegates from coming through. The People's Assembly March joined with anarchists to block this intersection, and right now we are just blocking the intersection and trying to keep delegates and police from pushing us out of the way. Right now there's a line of horses, police on horses trying to get us to move, but we're not moving.
Although we weren't able to completely shut down the IMF and World Bank meetings, we were able to make a statement to America and to the world that youth of color are concerned with how globalization is happening, and we're not going to let it happen the way in which it's happening, which is marginalizing people who are already marginalized.
To the top. Say what? No. What? No. IMF got to go. Stop. Drop. People gonna rise to the top.
They wanted to be invited. Well, nobody invited us. Why didn't we get invited? Why did you need to be invited to, the liberation struggle? Either you recognize that you're part of it and you're already there, or you don't.
We share a view and we share a dream and a vision of a world that is very different from the world that we live in today. I'm not afraid of globalization. I'm not afraid of globalization. The task that we have at hand is to change globalization, to make it just, to make it globalization that does not pit workers against other workers, that does not destroy the environment, that does not end up deciding who lives and who dies. It is globalization that serves human needs and that does not make people, the environment, and other kinds of resources, goods and services to be traded.
Oh yeah, that's the World Bank. The World Bank. I do think that the unions are starting to look at this from a global standpoint. I think it's just a matter of time here before, once they see, the lack of democracy in this situation here in our nation's capital, that they will act. And I hope they call for a general strike myself.
We're really building a movement here, and this is our political moment, and we're telling the world that we know what they're doing, what they're meeting about, what kinds of decisions they're making that are affecting our people, and that we're just not going to take it anymore.
It's the bad things that are being globalized, like inequality, like environmental injustice. And so what we are trying to do is, we're globalizers as well, but we're globalizing our resistance to capital.
I can't hear y'all! Oh, the IMF has got to go! Oh, the IMF has got to go!
Suddenly the world is hearing a different voice and saying, the young people of this country do not want to participate in this. They are rejecting that system of privilege creation and saying, we want a different world based on justice. We want a different world based on equality. We want a different world that uses the scarce resources of this earth with respect and sustainability. And to me, the most touching part of what is happening right now is the young people of America have voted against American imperialism, American consumerism, which is what globalization is all about.
We've already succeeded. We've already succeeded. Whether or not that meeting goes on or not, people in Middle America, people across this country are going to, what is the IMF? Why are these people out here acting a fool? They're going to start to look at this, they're going to start to ask questions and wonder about it. And the fact that this has been brought up at all is a success.
Folks who are watching this video, what can they do?
One, they can stop watching the video and get up and do something. We need people involved, actively involved, not just by word. We don't necessarily necessarily need your money. We need your body and your physical presence. Changes come by numbers, by the amount of people that you see here. This is what will make a change.
It's become kind of like a fever, a momentum that people are beginning to look at issues. It's not about a group of people trying to lock arms and just keep those people out, but we're seeing all the attacks in every area of our life. Guess what? We know that we need to resist, but more than that, we need to win. We've been resisting a long time. Now we're battling now to win.